Veronica presents the AI Repertory Theatre's production of Neworld Papers. Book 1, The Historian's Tale, by K.B. Shaw. Chapter 3, The Long Way Down.
It was high noon when we reached the outer district of Primacita, a sprawling metropolis built around the Riftwater Delta. The delta is formed by two rivers, the Riftwater and the Plains, which converge 8 kilometers east of the Rim Falls. The delta widens to almost 2 kilometers, terminating in the Riftwater Falls, the most spectacular of all the Rim Falls. Primacita is a sprawling metropolis of more than 250,000 people. The Cita, despite its location on the far eastern edge of Neworld, is the hub of commerce among the settlements, as well as the seat of government and heart of the financial system. Its outer boundary is roughly a semicircle, with the rim as its eastern terminus. Capital Island dominates the center of the delta. Bridges connect it to the Franchise District to the north and the Guild District to the south, or each district is set back from the edge of the rim by a strip of forested wilderness about 1.5 kilometers deep. This area has no parks, paths, or scenic lookouts that would allow one to survey the vast, foreboding, and forbidden basin that lies below. A grassy, lightly wooded promenade serves as a buffer between the wilderness and the Cita. The eastern terraces of Capital Island look out over the Rim Falls and offer a view of the white mists of the vast basin and, in the distance, the roiling fountain of vaporous cons that jet more than 2 kilometers into the sky. This is the sacred fount of life, said to be the source of life on Neworld. It took us more than an hour to traverse the Cita to the rim edge section of the Franchise District, the oldest part of the Cita and the closest to the rim. This is where the elite live. A high stone arch marked the entrance to the Greer estate. Bedford directed the horses through the arch and up the long, curving gravel drive. The surrounding trees and lush vegetation were so thick that I could not glimpse the manor from the entrance. When we finally rounded a bend and broke into open lawn, I was taken by surprise. I expected the Greer Manor House to be a grand, impressive stone structure. However, it was modest in both size and architecture. It was a rambling, asymmetrical, 2-story affair with a many-gabled roof and vine-covered walls constructed of heavy timbers, brick, and stucco. The building looked more like an agrarian cottage than the manor of a franchise family. After the ladies had exited the carriage, I helped Bedford pull down the luggage and possibly...
Now that we're safely home, let me properly introduce myself. I'm James Bedford. Some call me Jim, but most call me Bedford.
He extended his hand.
Welcome to the team.
Team? Several men came from the house and carried the luggage inside. We followed, climbing the steps to the front entrance and entering the foyer. A half-dozen or so people were milling about. They smiled warmly when they saw Bedford, but when they noticed me, their manners changed. Some quickly looked away as if the sight of me repulsed them. Others looked down at the floor like scolded children. No matter their reaction, they all scurried away into adjacent rooms, purposefully closing doors behind them. As the last man slipped through a door to what appeared to be a library, I was able to glimpse 2 things that struck me. The first was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. She had shoulder-length raven hair that framed a flawless face, a shade lighter than Bedford's, but with the same deep brown eyes. She was almost my height and had a shapely yet athletic body. I only saw her for a second, but her image was burned into my mind. The second thing that struck me was a large map hanging on the far wall of the room. I instantly recognized the outline of Neworld, the lowlands that covered the eastern part and the insurmountable 2-kilometer-high rift that defined the western boundary of Neworld and prevented exploration of the mountainous area beyond. Seeing the map from this distance, the outline of Neworld reminded me of the bottom of a shoe, with the rift and the unknown lands beyond being the heel and Neworld being the sole. The vast basin surrounded Neworld, serving as a buffer between the world and the void beyond. I had seen similar maps, but there was something odd about this one. Several lines of different colors extended eastward, beyond the rim into the basin. The longest of these lines snaked its way to the fount of life. Who were these people? I was suspicious of their secretive ways and uncertain of their purpose, so I thought it best not to ask about what I had seen. Instead, I asked, "Why is everyone avoiding me?"
It's the protocol, lad.
What's a protocol?
A procedure. A process.
Process to do what?
I can tell you this much. You're going to be asked to do something. To go someplace no one has ever gone. Make observations and report what you find.
I still don't see why people can't talk to me.
That's because all of us know what we expect you to find, what we hope you will find. We need an impartial observer. Do you get what I mean?
When I come back, if I come back, you don't want me to report things that I think you want to hear or see.
Exactly, lad. The less you know, the lower your expectations, the more reliable your report. At least, that's the way the thinking goes.
He put his two large hands on my shoulders.
And don't go fretting about coming back. You aren't going to die or any such thing. It's a hair-raising venture we're about, to be sure, but you're in good hands, lad, the best.
With that, he turned and strode toward the rear of the house.
We must hurry now. We must be ready to go by this evening.
I was shown to a small, windowless room in the north wing of the manor and asked to wait. It was sparkling clean and contained only a chair and a small table with a wash basin, a cloth, and a towel. A simple mirror and some wooden pegs graced the walls.
Shed your clothes, all of them, and leave them on the pegs. This will be your last chance to wash for a bit,
said Bedford as he left the room, closing the door behind him. I barely had time to take off my shirt when I heard a commotion in the hall. I put my ear to the door.
They're at the front gate.
The unfamiliar voice sounded urgent.
They're threatening to break it down.
Have you initiated procedures?
Yes. Everything's being secured in the quarters.
Good work, Percy. You need to buy us some time.
We will, Jim. Good luck.
There was a knock. The door cracked open, and Bedford's hand appeared, holding a set of Johnny's, long winter underwear.
Don't dally, lad. Plans have changed. Put these on and meet me in the next room.
I'll be right there. I quickly stripped and slipped into the Johnnies. They weren't baggy like normal Johnnies. They were made of a loose-weave cotton that fit me like a second skin. I squatted, stretched, twisted, and bent. No matter what, the skivvies moved with me. Impressed, I went to meet Bedford. I've never seen a weave like this, sir.
That's because it's not woven. It's knitted. But there's no time for small talk now.
He threw me 4 calf-length wool socks, a knit shirt with a long tubular collar that could be rolled down or extended to cover the entire neck, and a pair of tan canvas pants.
These should fit you fine. Now mind you, put on one set of socks, then the pants. Tighten the straps on the pant legs and then put the second pair of socks over the pants.
When I put the pants on, I discovered they had a wide band of material at the waist that was folded down like a shirt collar over a wide leather belt. I didn't know if this flap was functional or some sort of strange Sita fashion. As if he had read my mind, Bedford said,
Tighten your belt and fold the waist flap back down for now, like I have, see?
I pulled a puzzled face.
It'll make sense in a bit, lad. Now hurry. Just cinch your pant legs and pull those outer socks on.
He was sitting on a bench, lacing up a pair of boots.
Then come over here and find a pair of boots that fit comfortably.
Oddly enough, the workmanlike leather boots were only ankle-high. I gave Bedford another look. As he was about to respond, I said in my best attempt at a baritone voice, "It'll make sense in a bit, lad."
Oh, come on and you'll see. The others are probably waiting in the cellars.
The hallway was filled with men and women scurrying about with boxes and arms full of documents. Their activity seemed to be urged on by a loud thumping coming from the front of the house. Bedford led me quickly through the house, across the entrance hall where several men were bracing the front door against the incessant pounding by those demanding access. Bedford broke into a trot, leading me to a heavy door in the kitchen. It was constructed of solid timbers and straps of iron. He retrieved a cast-iron key from his pants pocket and unlocked the door. With a clank of tumblers falling into place, the door swung open without a sound. Beyond was a winding, wood-paneled stairwell illuminated by a single gas lamp. Bedford closed and latched the door behind us. The clank of the lock struck a note of dread within me. I looked Bedford in the eyes. The cellars seem a strange place to start a journey. He looked back.
You surely speak the truth there, lad. I can understand your fears.
I'm not afraid, I said sharply.
Your concerns, then. Is that all right? Concerns?
I nodded sheepishly.
I assure you that you have not fallen in with a den of thieves, if that is your concern. We are honorable people with honorable intentions.
As he spoke, he never broke eye contact. I hoped he was not like me in that respect.
Do you believe me, Fallon? Because if you don't, I'll unlock this door right now and you're free to leave.
My brain told me I should trust him and Mrs. Greer too, but my pounding heart wasn't so sure. No, I'm fine. I mean, yes, I believe you.
Well then, lead on, lad.
He clapped me on the shoulder.
The stairs aren't wide enough for me to get around you. There's no place to go but down. Step lively now.
Kulchtort, down. My heart still raced. I found it hard to breathe. I hated the tomb-like cellars at the mount. They were dank and depressing, filled with screel, bugs, and the detritus of life at the school. This cellar wasn't damp or musty. Gas lamps lit it brightly, and there was no evidence of vermin. It had the feeling of active use, not neglect. There was an area to store fruits and vegetables, grains, and cured meats, and I felt a sudden wave of foolishness. Here I was, nearly 18 annums, almost an adult, and I was acting like a child. My heart began to slow. I took a deep breath. No one else is here yet. Bedford shot me a curious smile as we entered the curing room and wound our way between rows of hanging carcasses. At the far end of the room was a metal butcher's table that drained into a blood-stained grate in the floor. A rack holding an assortment of knives, saws, and cleavers was mounted above the table. Bedford stepped across the bloody grate and reached for a cleaver that was deeply embedded in a support timber. The memory of Vernon McCrae's dead body struck fear into my heart. My pulse accelerated and my chest tightened. I quickly flashed through the most recent images in my mind, cataloging every carcass we had passed. 6 pigs, 12 sides of beef, 2 lambs, no humans. That was a bit of a relief, but I considered my options just the same. I could lunge for the table, grab a knife or cleaver to defend myself, or I could run, but to where? The only exit from the cellar was locked. There I stood, on the blood-stained cellar floor, surrounded by the hanging carcasses of slaughtered animals, while a man I didn't really know reached for a butcher's cleaver embedded in a timber. I couldn't breathe as Bedford's fingers closed upon the cleaver's handle. I had always imagined a life of adventure outside the walls of the mount, but I never imagined it would be this short. Instead of pulling the cleaver out, Bedford pressed down on the handle, and the wall beyond the grate swung away, revealing a small alcove. Seeing the look of consternation on my face, Bedford laughed.
Hey, it's a bit disconcerting, I admit. Quite by design, I must say. But it ends here. From this point on, your journey will go from macabre to amazing.
Bedford gave the cleaver a sharp tug and a twist, and it dislodged from the beam. He stepped into the hidden passage and motioned me to follow. It's truth. It's still...
I think you'll find we're the last to arrive.
As I approached, I realized the area was a landing at the top of some winding stairs carved out of the native rock. The stairwell, which appeared to be hewn from the stone in a natural crevice, was pitched in blackness, but I could hear faint sounds echoing up from below. Voices? Bedford moved to a black metal box mounted on the wall and began to crank its protruding handle vigorously. The mechanism made a low groan that grew steadily to a shrill whir as he cranked it with increasing speed. In a moment, the stairs were washed in a soft yellow-green glow. I saw that a set of cords ran from the box to a series of glowing discs attached to the walls of the stairwell at intervals. Bedford hung the cleaver on a hook by the sliding panel. Its weight pulled the hook downward, and the panel glided shut.
Come along then, lad.
Bedford tapped one of the glowing discs as he passed.
Phosphorescent lamps. The static box sends a charge through connecting wires, causing the lamps to glow for a period of time. The brightness and duration depend upon how fast and how long you crank the box.
We must have gone down more than 200 steps before we entered a sizable cavern, which seemed to be a warehouse. Only a small area at the bottom of the stairs was illuminated. The lamps in this place were large and were mounted on stands, each with its own static box. Mrs. Greer and two men were there, all attired in the same manner as Bedford and I.
You have the replacement static box for run 12?
Was that Mrs. Greer? She sounded 20 years younger.
Nothing to.
Plus a spare and some lamps if we find any other outages,
said one of the men. The second man was lashing down a pack on the first man's back.
Ah, there he is.
It was her, the real her. Gone was her primness, her feigned frailties. The woman I traveled with for the past 3 days was just a public facade. This was the voice that went with the agrarian haircut, weathered face, and short nails.
Sean, Toby, this is our new team member, Fallon.
When the two men turned to greet me, I saw they were a bit older than me, 19 or 20 annums. One was shorter than me, under 2 meters. He was lean, with close-cropped hair and a scraggly black beard. The laugh lines next to his dark eyes betrayed a mischievous nature. The other man was half a head taller than me, clean-shaven, with blue eyes and long, light brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. Both were muscular and sported noses that had been broken at some point, probably in a fight or two.
Good to have you on board, Fallon,
said the tall one.
I'm Toby Andrews.
and I'm Sean Halloran. We're twins.
Twins?
Basically.
Not identical, of course, but twins just the same,
said Sean.
Your drawings are quite astounding, you know,
said Toby.
Jenna says you can sketch with great detail from memory. Is that true?
You know Missy Howard? They laughed and spoke in unison.
Could go it. She's our sister.
She's our sister.
Your sister? This was awkward,
She has a different contract mother, but the same birth father.
said Toby.
So, about your sketching, is it true? Asked Sean.
You, haven't seen my drawings? I glanced toward Mrs. Greer. With a bemused expression, she said,
They've not seen all of your work, just examples of flora and fauna sketches.
So, can you sketch accurately from memory?
Yes, I said with an air of relief. Yes, I can.
Then you'll be able to continue giving us data after he returns.
Excellent, said Toby as he clapped me on the back. It's great to have you on the team. There it was again, team,
Give Fallon his pack, and let's get moving.
said Bedford from somewhere in the darkness. I heard the whir of a static box being cranked and saw a pathway of lights that led out of the cavern. Mrs. Greer and Bedford disappeared into the lighted shaft. The twins helped me strap a large canvas pack on my back, and then we went in pursuit of Bedford and Mrs. Greer. Where are we going?
Down,
said Toby, who led the way.
And out,
Said his brother. Is it also part of the protocol that I shouldn't know where we're going?
Not at all. We're headed down almost 2 kilometers.
and out into the basin.
As you'll discover, that will be impossible during each day's march. However, you'll get a chance when we rest at a way station.
As we descended, Toby made it clear that he was leading the way because he was the elder of the two by 10 minutes and holder of their father's contract.
Now be careful here. It gets quite steep and some parts are damp and slippery from seepage.
Sometime later, I heard the whir of another static box being cranked as we caught up with Mrs. Greer and Bedford. The next section of tunnel lit up and we were off again with hardly a pause. This process was repeated perhaps another dozen times before the shaft finally leveled out. We entered a fair-sized chamber that was illuminated as part of the last run of lights. One end was filled in with a stone block wall and fitted with a heavy metal door.
Packs off and suit up, gentlemen.
After we removed our packs, the twins pointed to shelves where the rest of our clothing was neatly arranged. I did as they did. First, I slipped a pair of knee-high, rubberized boots over the leather boots. Next, I folded the waist flap up and unrolled the collar on the knit shirt covering my neck. One of the twins handed me a double-breasted canvas jacket. It was fastened with 2 rows of brass buttons and tapered neatly at the waist, where it cinched tightly around the waist flap, just above the belt. The collar was tall, stiff. It overlapped and buttoned shut to completely protect the throat. Protect? Against what? I had a pretty good idea when I saw the bowl-shaped helmets. Each helmet had a gauze drape that enshrouded the head and tightened around the shirt and jacket collar with a drawstring. Bugs? I asked.
Big bugs. Be sure the netting is cinched snugly over your collar.
Now put on some gloves and tighten your sleeves over them like this. See?
Lamps on.
On the peak of each helmet was what I had come to recognize as a static box. Its crank was on top, and a lamp was mounted on the front.
Like this, lad. Hold your helmet down like so, then rotate the crank about 20 to 25 times. The faster you can crank, the stronger the light. Yes, that's it. Now, when we open the door, hurry on through, you hear? We don't want to leave it open too long.
Sean was by the door, cranking a static box. I heard a hiss behind me and turned to see Toby using some sort of device to fill the chamber with a light mist.
It's Bug Killer. The mist will kill the flyers and cling to all the surfaces to kill any crawlers that might sneak in. Get ready, Fallon. We'll need to move quickly now. And try to hold your breath as we make the passage.
Done,
said Sean as he finished cranking. Sean stepped back and yanked the door open. Bedford was the first one through, then Mrs. Greer, me, and Toby, who immediately started to mist the tight corridor we had entered. Sean followed quickly, securing the door behind him. Toby set down the misting device and said,
Done.
The corridor reeked of the bug spray. I held my breath, but that didn't stop my eyes from stinging. Another block wall and metal door, which Sean called a hatch, stood before us. Bedford was spinning a wheel that moved locking bolts from their closed position. The wheel stopped turning with a loud clank. Bedford grasped the heavy handle, pushed down, and pushed forward. The door opened with a groan, and we made a quick exit.
Welcome to the basin, Fallon.
End of chapter 3. Next up, Through the Mist.